Morning everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I'm up at Savernake Forest, and instead of doing a specific route video, I thought I'd do a guide to the forest, as it's one of my favourite places to ride and there's lots of interesting things to go and see. I'm going to start at the car park at Poston Hill. It's probably the most obvious place to start the ride. But I think technically you can park anywhere in the forest where you can drive to. So down the Grand Avenue, and there's a few other spots you can park. I'm going to be using this guide that I picked up from the White Horse bookshop in Marlborough. And it's got quite a nice big detailed map pointing out all the points of interest much better than the OS map. So the plan is to ride into the forest and try and cover as much of the area as possible, and on the way point out as many of the points of interest as possible that I come across. I'm going to start by heading out of the car park and down Grey Road, which is one of the main tracks that leads down into the forest, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so this is Poston Hill car park. It's a good place to start. It's got picnic areas, it's a good car park, it's the only main car park. And straight off the bat, I've seen the first named oak tree, Bubble Oak, just here. And we're gonna head down, this is known as Grey Road, and we're heading south down into the forest. So according to the guide, the forest is thought to be over 1,000 years old, and it used to be 10 times the size it is now. It's stretched all the way out to Westwoods, which is why Westwoods is called Westwoods, because it was the western part of Savernake Forest. Okay, so just coming to the bottom of Grey Road, and this is the second oak tree that we'll find, called White Road Oak, sorry. This is White Road. So the forest is Britain's only privately owned forest, and it's been in the care of the same family for over 1,000 years. And there's virtually no public rights of way, but almost all of the forest is accessible to the public under the management of the Forestry Commission. We're just heading down to Great Lodge Bottom, and then we're going to climb up around the side of Braden Hook House. This is Great Lodge Bottom. We're going straight over. Okay, so let's go up here. It's usually a bit of multiple choice from finding your way around the wood. Loads and loads of tracks crisscrossing the area. So although most of the forest, almost all of it, is accessible to the public, there are a few private houses within the wood, and one of them is just to the left, known as Braden Hook House. And a little further on is another of the named oak trees, known as Braden Oak. Okay, so this is Braden Oak, and it's called True Braden Oak, so I'm not entirely sure what that means. Okay, so we're just going to have a little detour, have a look at the Arboretum. small section of the forest. It's a nice quiet part of the wood as well. If you wanted to come here for a picnic, it's a nice spot. Got some nice open areas. Okay, so we're just heading towards Great Lodge Drive, and we're sort of heading west now. This Great Lodge Drive is one of the 8 spokes that comes off the 8 Walks centre piece, where all the tracks meet in the middle of the forest. So this is Thornhill Depot, and we've just joined Great Lodge Drive, and we're going to go and find Thornhill Pond. There you go, this is Thornhill Pond. One of the forest's many pools. Okay, I'm just going to take another detour to another one of these ancient oak trees. This one's a little bit harder to find, tucked away. So this is spiral oak. I think it's probably my favourite tree in the wood. It's a really interesting shape. It's obviously one of the older ones, one of the older trees of the named oak trees, but it's also difficult to find. It's a bit of an adventure actually trying to find it in the first place. So this track we're on now is known as New Road Bottom, and it's heading south and sort of to the western side of the forest. And next up we're going to go and find the big bellied oak, which is fairly difficult to locate, I believe. So hopefully we can find it. So just coming up to Sawpit Drive, which is another one of the 8 main tracks in the forest that comes out from the centre, comes out from the Grand Avenue. And we're still looking for the big bellied oak, which is on the right next to the Salisbury Road. Okay, so we're currently in the presence of tree royalty right now. This is the most famous tree in Savernake Forest, the big bellied oak, and there's a plaque just here that I'll read. The Tree Council, in celebration of the Golden Jubilee of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, has designated the Big Belly Oak one of 50 Great British trees in recognition of its place in the National Heritage. June 2002. Okay, so I'm just going to follow this path, continue south down the edge of the forest, as there is a, well, what is described on the guidebook as a quaint milestone. Okay, so we're just at the top of Charcoal Burners Road, and this is the Salisbury Road. We're right at the western side of the forest, and here is this milestone. 2 Marlborough Town Hall, 2 miles, 7 furlongs and 70 yards, and then 2 Tottenham House, 2 miles, 3 furlongs and 143 yards. It's known as cluster oak, and it's like quite a young tree to me, but I've got to admit I know absolutely nothing about oak trees. It looks quite small. So if Perhaps it's one of the younger named oak trees. So we're going to head back towards the centre of the wood. So this track straight ahead is known as Column Ride, as it heads up to the column. Just going to pass Biffham Pool, several people here. This is Biffham Pool, and it's one of over 20 small ponds in the forest, 12 of which are historic and as a result of old forest industries such as excavating clay for bricks and pottery, flint and gravel for road material, and chalk for field fertilisation. So we're just heading along Post Wives Walk, and we're heading back towards the centre of the forest. And along this track there are quite a few of the named oak trees, including the Queen Oak and the replacement King Oak. The original King Oak has succumbed. So this is the new Queen Oak. There have been replacement oaks for this one, for the Queen Oak, which is a little bit further on, and the King Oak. So there's the original Queen Oak. This is one of its big branches that's collapsed. It's almost entirely collapsed really, it's just a mass of rotting wood now. And the sides are pretty much completely rotted away as well. If you want to see as many of these ancient trees as you can in one walk, this section, 12 o'clock drive and Post Wives Walk, is definitely the part of the forest to come and visit. Okay, so I'm just going to go up here, short stretch, and then we'll come back this way. Another tree here. This is definitely one of the youngest named the oak trees, the replacement King Oak. Really quite small. Still quite intact, but it has lost quite a few major branches. According to the guidebook, there are as many as 100 of these ancient oak trees in the forest, some of them over 1,000 years old, and I think I counted 26 named oak trees marked on the guide map. So we're just about to cross over 12 o'clock drive. You can see it gets extremely muddy, this particular track, one to avoid in the winter. So we're just heading south away from 12 o'clock drive towards an area known as Chevel Bottom. Another named oak tree, this one's known as Green Fluted Oak. Chevel Bottom is one of several enclosures that the forest has had created. They bring cows in the late summer, early autumn to just maintain the forest floor and fertilise it in a more natural way. Okay, so we're just leaving Chevel Bottom now. I'm going to turn right, take a detour along Charcoal Burners Road. We're going to go and take a look at the remains of an ammunition shelter It was used during World War II. Here it is on the left. Just the brickwork remains. So Savernake Forest was used as a major munitions store during World War II. The trees and the canopy were obviously excellent at hiding the ammunition from enemy aerial reconnaissance. Its location was important as well. It was considered far enough away from London, the capital, to not threaten the safety of a highly built up area should anything go wrong or it was attacked. It had good road and railway access, and it was also close to the army training ground at Salisbury Plain and not too far from the south coast, which meant that there was an easy route for the ammunition across the channel to the front line. Okay, so we're just heading back down Charcoal Burners Road and up towards the Aylesbury Monument. There's the monument, straight ahead. So this is the Aylesbury Column. It's the largest and most well recognised monument in the forest. It's 28 metres high, 90 feet. And interestingly, it once stood in Hammersmith in London for 20 years in memory of someone else, until Thomas Bruce, the Earl of Aylesbury, bought it for Savernake in 1781. So we're going to head back towards the track we just came down and then head east towards the eastern side of the forest. And in this direction, about a mile away, you can see Tottenham House, which is a massive Palladian style manor house, but is now being converted into a luxury hotel and golf course. But you can't get anywhere near it, and you can't get any further than that fence line at the bottom of the hill there. So we're going to go this way. Going to take a short detour around here. What you'll find is if you buy this map and go looking for all these various points of interest around the forest, you end up travelling to areas that you probably wouldn't have ordinarily gone to, but they're really nice and quiet, secluded spots. This is just another track that runs parallel to Three Oak Hill Drive, which is over to my right. We're heading down towards the Gallops, I believe. So this track's known as the Gallops. It runs parallel to the Grand Avenue, which is over to my left. So just going to cross over the Grand Avenue. Runs for 4 miles directly down the centre of the forest. And that's the longest tree-lined avenue in the UK, or in the country, could just be England. Just passing over the line of a Roman road, runs down to my left there, and it's right through the middle of the forest. There's actually 2 Roman roads that run through the forest. So ahead of me here is Crockmere Oak, and around here is Crockmere Pond. which was one of the 12 historical pools in the forest. This one was used as a source of clay to make pottery and bricks. I'm now going to go and find Duke's Vaunt, which is one of the oldest trees left in the forest, one of the oldest oak trees in the forest, and I think it's really just the remains of the tree. So this is possibly the hardest tree to find in the forest because it's right in the middle of this thick conifer wood to my left. And we might have to set the bike down and kind of walk through. Okay, so here's Duke's Vaunt. It's actually being held up by a supporting beam there, because I think that's the last remaining section of the tree standing, but that does bear leaves in the summer. Edward Seymour, the Duke of Somerset, was very proud of this tree in its heyday, and that's how it gained its name. In its prime, it measured 9 metres, 30 feet in circumference on the outside, and 6 metres, 20 feet around the inside of its hollow interior. And apparently it was so large, at one time a door was added, and as many as 20 people were able to be closed inside of it, which is hard to believe looking at it now. And on another occasion, an entire band, including violins, a bassoon and an oboe player, all managed to fit inside. So Savernake Forest's other claim to fame is that Henry VIII used to come here on deer hunts, and his third wife, Jane Seymour, was born and lived at Wolf Hall, which is in the forest. So we're just going to do a lap around the bottom southeast side of the forest, and then make our way back up and go and see another of my favourite of the ancient oak trees, King of Limbs. Head towards the King of Limbs oak tree. Another one of the more famous oak trees in the forest, in part because Radiohead named the album that they recorded in the forest after this tree. Big hollow interior. How many people you could fit in here? So just crossing over Grand Avenue again, back onto 3 Oaks Hill Drive. Right, we'll head down here, back down the Gallops. So this is 8 walks. And this is where all of the forest's main tracks cross each other in the middle of the wood. And this is the Grand Avenue. Looks like it's having some resurfacing work done. And we're going to head down this one towards another of the named oak trees. Heading down towards the very eastern side of Savernake. We'll join a track known as Amity Drive. So this is Amity Drive, and on the corner here Another one of these named oak trees. Amity oak. The most impressive of the ones we've seen today, but worth a detour out to. Nearly missed it. Take this bit of single track that runs through to Red Vane Bottom. We're just going to turn right down and head up through Red Vane Bottom to the northeast part of the forest. It's another of the cattle enclosures. I think there's 4 in the forest overall. And up to my right here is another ancient oak tree known as surveyed oak, which I think I might have to walk to. I'm going to go and find that one. Not the easiest to get to, but easier to find than Duke's Vaunt. So this is surveyed oak, one of the lesser known oak trees in the forest. Mainly because it's a little bit out of the way. And turn right on Grand Avenue again for a short stretch. So we're generally heading back in the direction of Hoston Hill where we started today. But I'm going to take a few detours to see just a few more of the named oak trees that are in this part of the forest. There's Saddle Oak 1. Unfortunately, it's unusual horizontal branch has snapped off. You can see they've got this unusual horizontal growth, which is thought to have been caused by pollarding. And so features this unusual horizontal sort of split bark, split trunk. One of them is down here. This is the only public right of way through the forest, known as Church Walk. It's a bridle way. It runs from the sort of north-east corner of the forest down towards the village of Cadley. This is Old Paunchy. Another odd sort of growth outside of it. So we're going to leave the bridleway now and head down White Road, which we crossed over at the beginning of the ride, and head towards our final stop, Cathedral Oak, which is just round here. Okay, so this is Cathedral Oak, named of course because of its sheer size. Absolutely massive. It looks like 3 trees sort of merged into one. It's also got a new name plaque, which wasn't there before. So it's now easier to locate, although it is right in front of an enormous manor house. So at this point I'm heading back to the car park at Poston Hill. I hope you enjoyed this tour of Savernake Forest today, and that it gave you a good idea of what to expect if you decide to come and visit. I've included an OS map link of a route that covers all the areas that I visited today that you can find in the description below. And finally, if you'd like to support my channel, please like and subscribe, and thanks very much for watching.